Welcome to the Statewide IT Conference for 2016, or our 21st consecutive Statewide IT Conference. As you'll note in the formation of the program this year, we've taken a few decisions ourselves. We've mixed it up a little bit. The day is going to flow a little bit differently than years past. Lightning talks this afternoon. The staff appreciation event has been moved over to the IMU. So while we've changed the program and we've changed some of the venues, the purpose remains the same. That is for you to meet your peers, to interact, to enjoy each other. This is our one big gathering a year for all of our IT staff who are able to attend from schools, administrative units, academic departments, from all campuses, from UITS. So welcome, welcome, welcome as we begin Statewide 2016. Now, the theme this year is decisions, decisions. And if you're sitting up a little bit taller, you'll notice they've even got me placed here on a chessboard. Chess is really an apt metaphor for decision making. It's not like roulette where there's this random game of chance and you have no skill whatsoever and you say red 21 and maybe something happens, Lady Luck smiles on you, or maybe not. Or it's not like football, where you just get a fortunate bounce of the ball. And it might have gone the other way, but it went your way, and you got it, and it went well. But chess is a great metaphor for decision-making because nothing happens until you make a decision. And it hurts you sometimes to linger, linger, linger in making the decision to take that first step. Or you failed to see out of the corner of your eye the opportunity that was really sitting here, even as your opponent laughs at you just a little bit, realizing that you missed that opportunity because you didn't see it, you didn't think about it, or you just didn't know what to do. So we're focused on decision making this year for the 21st Statewide IT Conference. But before I go very far with that, I really would like to turn up the applause meter, and that would be my personal applause to you. It is such an honor to lead what I truly believe is the best IT organization at any college and university in the nation. And we are an organization very much on the move. This past year, on average, typical month, we had within UITS about 1,026 employees. That would include people working on contracts and grants, working with Internet 2, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, across a whole range of positions that are within UITS and grant funded, but about 1,026. This year alone, we posted and filled 157 new jobs. So that's about 15% of our jobs are being renewed. And of those 157 this year, 41 of them were filled from folks already in UITS deciding to advance their career. They said, I could move from research technologies over to learning technologies. Or maybe I want to move on to that new grant that just came along. So 41 of you moved to a new job this year, and I'm delighted when that happens. More impressive, 53 of you came from schools and administrative departments. Other parts of IU, you decided you wanted to come work for UITS. We lost 20 people this year within IU. They left UITS to go work in schools and departments. And if you're a veteran of statewide IT, you know I've been saying that on this stage as long as we've been in this auditorium, that we all win when folks advance their career, build their skills, move within UITS, move within schools and departments amongst our campuses. That's what builds a strong labor force. And we also added this year, I'm very happy to say, 63 new people. Even in a tight tech labor market, 63 people chose to bring their technical skills and take that first job at Indiana University. Now, it may have been a more experienced job too, but it's their first time to come to IU. 31 of you this year, your work changed. We reclassified your job, we added additional skills, additional supervisory responsibility. And so I want to turn up the applause because there is nothing more important to us maintaining our mission in service of education and research than having a highly skilled IT staff in UITS, across the schools, departments. So first, my applause to you. Now, this chap needs to make a decision. And he's been thinking about this decision that he needs to make. And he's not impulsive. He's taking his time and he's pondering it a little bit. So while he works to decide, let's take just a little bit deeper look at some of the great things that have been going on this year at Indiana University. So much is going on. If you caught President McRobbie's State of the University address last week, you saw it was just chock full of all sorts of facts and figures, many, many good things as we work across all campuses in service of Indiana University. This campus, as you know, we're on our countdown to the university as a whole, but the origin being here in Bloomington, to the bicentennial. 2020, on January 20th of 2020, Indiana University will be 200 years old. So as we recount the year, we have a whole lot of what we typically call in a graph the march to the northeast corner. Academic selectivity improving, the most diverse and inclusive class that we've ever recruited across the university. Credit hours in summer enrollment up higher than we've ever seen. And on some of our campuses, the number of students enrolled taking IU online courses has now crossed over and exceeded the number of students who are physically showing up on one of our campuses for classes. We have students sitting here on the Bloomington campus. In addition to the courses they're enrolled in, they may be taking an additional course delivered out of IU East through IU Online. So lots of things. We've got a march to the northeast corner, enrollment very, very strong, and it's great to see the state's namesake university continuing its breadth of engagement across the entirety of the state. Now, many of you know we don't have a campus in Evansville, but I was down there recently, and that new medical education center, part of the School of Medicine, partnered with the two universities down there, is going to be an amazing building that is leading a revival and renewal of downtown Evansville. Now, not everything is always a march to the northeast corner. We're really, really excited when some things go down. So like when wait time on the help desk goes down, that's a good thing. And I don't know how your personal experience is or was with the start of the semester, but in the CIB, for many of us, it was eerily quiet. We just kept waiting. Okay, is there, when does the other shoe drop? When does something happen? And we certainly had the normal startup things with the beginning of the semester, some people needing help with laptops and things. But for those of you who run the major systems, the networks, the service points across our community, bravo. It is probably the quietest, calmest startup of a semester that we've ever seen, and that includes a wholesale migration to Canvas as our learning management system, and it's one of those things, of course, that touches everybody in the academic enterprise. The other thing that has gone down is incredibly exciting, and I don't know of another university across the nation that has achieved this much, and that is a reduction in student loans. We saw Indiana University in a 4-year comparison, year to year, our students took out $100 million less in student debt. Now, prices didn't drop that much. Cost of living didn't drop that much. Why would students make a decision to take that much less debt? Well, several things influence it. One that helps a lot is the best way to reduce student borrowing is to complete your degree on time. If you're here 4 years and you need to borrow some money to go and you get done in 4 years, that costs less than 4 years in one semester, or it costs less than 5 years. So making the right classes available at the right time, helping students make choices, getting through is one of the best things we can do to reduce student debt. We did one other thing, started about 4 years ago under the leadership of former Vice President Mary Frances McCourt, is we started a financial literacy class, a required financial literacy class, and every student gets a letter early on that says, okay, you qualify for these loans. If you take these federal loans, and it separates loans and grants, and this is what that will mean to you when you graduate. This is what your repayment would look like. If you got a job and you were making this much money, this is what percentage of that it would take. So by providing information at an early point to students and helping them think about it, we're helping them make better decisions. Last week, we announced progress of passing $10 million in our e-text program, and we remain without any peer in the nation on this. E-text, we're really going at trying to solve the darn high cost of textbooks. Now, you know that reading books and novels, there's paper books available everywhere, but a lot of people like to read through a Kindle or some other device, read books on their phone. So the distribution of novels and books has been transformed with digital. We know Apple helped the music industry finally chew through and figure out how to get to the other side, and music sales didn't collapse. What happened? They actually exploded when they finally got to digital distribution of music. Netflix has been chewing through the movie industry, etc. So things that can be distributed digitally, in time, will be distributed digitally. So we began this in 2009 as an early pilot you know about, and Stacy Maroney and the Learning Technologies team continue to educate faculty. Our e-text program, students pay typically about 20 to 30% the price of what a new textbook would be. They get access to it as long as they're a student here. They can print to their heart's content. And at the end of summer, we passed $10 million in the 5-year cumulative run. Now, what's more impressive in those numbers is last year alone, of that 10 million, 3.8 million occurred just in the last academic year. And you know what the number is for this semester by itself? Just fall alone is over $3 million. So we're really seeing an uptake of this, and we are a national model. Inside Higher Ed wrote last week, had Indiana finally found the grand compromise with the publishers to make this work? And of course, open educational resources, free textbooks are part of this as well. We've been deeply engaged in the research activities of the university. Many of you, if I said name that computer, I hope most of you could. And you'll notice that's Big Red 2 with 250 academic disciplines etched on the front. But if you look carefully, Big Red 2 has a little brother now. We call him Plus, Big Red 2 Plus. This is our second Cray, and this Cray is focused on those researchers who are doing very, very large-scale computational simulations and tasks. So Big Red, if you walk by, it's panting, its tongue's hanging out, it's sweating, it's people just using it to death. But what we do with that supercomputer, it's often running a whole bunch of small jobs, or occasionally a big job and some small jobs. We're always trying to optimize the use. So if you're a researcher and you want to do a really big simulation, you may have to wait longer than you would like. So with Plus and grand challenges in research, we're dedicating that machine to researchers who need to use, for a single job, half the machine or up to the whole machine at one time. It is focused on the frontiers and the largest scale uses where these systems would normally only be available at the national labs and such. Likewise, we dedicated Jetstream last week or week before. Kudos to Craig Stewart and the Research Technologies Group. This system in total will be about $12 million. We won a competitive grant with the National Sciences Foundation. And you go, supercomputer, 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 what's the difference? Oh, it's like saying to a Mac person, oh, it's just a PC, okay? No, there's differences. The thing about Jetstream that is amazing is it's like Staples. It's got a big easy button on the front of it. So what it allows us to do with Citrix and virtual environments is you take a research group like plant scientist or genomicist or economist, and you bundle together all the things they need. The access to the big data sets that they may share nationally, their own data sets, time on big systems across the nation. And a researcher, she can use her iPad and manipulate data, run statistics, maybe run something on Blue Waters over in Illinois. So it is the easy button to be able to help our faculty carry out their research. Likewise, about 2 years ago, we launched the Media Digitization and Preservation Initiative. Now, as you recall, we documented that we have about 400,000 audio, reel-to-reel, film, even wax cylinders, things that are falling apart. I don't know how your 8-track player at home is doing. I can't find mine, and my wax cylinder player is totally kaput. If you need to play any of this media, you have to go to eBay to actually try to find these things. And Sony, one of the largest worldwide manufacturers of tape equipment that's used in broadcast and television stations, digital audio tape, all of that is gone. Sony is no longer making tape equipment, no longer making tapes, and is winding down productions of parts. So we began an initiative 2 years ago. We really commenced and dedicated it 1 year after this event last year to first do audio and video. So no film yet. Film is much, much more complicated. To do audio and video, about 280,000 reel-to-reel tapes, discs, all the things that are audio and video. And in just over 1 year, that public-private partnership with Sony Memnon has already completed 140,000 items. And all of those, this is all done with our great partners at the IU Library. That's going into the data center, into the scholarly data archive. The libraries are building the interfaces so scholars can go and find those things. And again, it's a leadership point of distinction in the nation. Now, all of that audio and video will produce about 9 petabytes of data. The scholarly data archive itself, I think, is about 30 or maybe 35, and then you split that in half because it's mirrored both sides. So if you're at 17, maybe even 20 in an SDA now usable, you're going to be adding another 9 for that. So the president is assessing, and he made this public in his remarks last week, what would it take to push into the final frontier, and that is film. IU has one of the richest holdings of any university in the nation in our film collections. But digitizing film is really, really complicated and a big deal. If we digitize just 25,000 of our estimated 75,000 films, it's probably in the 40+ petabyte range to store that. That is a big USB stick to hold all of that. So we're doing some really, really big things, and what I hope you can see is this connects the cyber infrastructure that we have and the data center, the storage, the computation, with the business models of going out and competing for grants at the highest level, enabling our students to get wholesale pricing on textbooks because it's core to the university mission. All of this sews together into making IU a pretty great place. Now, if you've paid attention to the news or read your continual notifications that your credit card has been hacked, that retailer X, Y, or Z has lost your information, you know that we really we have some issues as a nation and as a world around cybersecurity. Our trustees are deeply engaged. I briefed them on these matters multiple times, and we know that stuff will happen. So what decisions can we take as an IT community and as all the participants in Indiana University to do a bit better than stuff will happen? And a lot of the stuff that will happen is really a kind of an old game. How do we get that bad thing inside the gates of your university or inside your PC or inside your phone. I took this picture this year. I went to the 6th International Cybersecurity Conference in Tel Aviv, Israel. As a CIO, I'm generally paranoid about cybersecurity matters anyway. It's part of my job, and I look really calm in comparison to Tom Davis and Mark Brune, if you ever hang out with them. But after sitting in that conference for 2 days and hearing folks from all over the world, from government agencies, from spook agencies, the political side of it, the deep technical side of it, I think I was chewing on my fingernails all the way home on the flight. So what I want to say, folks, is while we've talked every year about cybersecurity since the first device was plugged in, it is a step function difference in the risk. And the greatest risk we have right now is human behavior. We can put all the technical defenses in the world in, but what you choose to click on, what you choose to open, is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to us. So you see, we've been doing a ton of education. Within UITS, we've been doing internal phishing, and I was reticent to whether we should be doing that or not. But as you know, we've now done 3 exercises within UITS, and the numbers are not encouraging, even amongst our own staff. School, my home school, the Kelly School, has started doing internal phishing as well. We've made the kits available. This is all part of education, because it's no longer the click here to get $1 million from your deceased uncle in Liberia. It's not that kind of stuff any longer. It's personal. It's addressed to you. Somebody looked at your Facebook page. We had one not long ago where a note was sent to Dan Calarco, my chief of staff, spoofed to look like it came from Lori Antolovic, deputy CIO, asking for an administrative action to be taken. It was that clever and that targeted, and of course it was not a legitimate message. So what are we doing? Well, one of the things is we're moving to two-stepping. And I don't know why they call it 2 steps. You can see from the diagram there are actually 4 steps involved in doing the Texas 2-step. But we're moving to 2-step login with Duo and Duo plus CAS. UITS, I think we're almost all already in. The president's cabinet, all the vice presidents, the chancellors of the regional campuses, the deans, we have all moved into CAS plus Duo. Now, when you think of dancing, Fred Astaire was obviously a great dancer, but as the women noted, Ginger Rogers was actually the better dancer because she did it all backwards in high heels. So for women, there will be no discrimination in our 2-step. It is the same move for both women and men in logging in with 2-step login. Likewise, who did that message come from? Do you open that envelope? Game of Thrones fan, you wonder if that raven was really for you, and where did it come from? So in time ago, a wax seal was put on an envelope, something that was unique in the stamp, and you could assess perhaps from afar, did that really look like the seal of the king and where it came from? And of course, what we're talking about now is your email using a digital certificate. So again, we have moved as a whole. All of the university leadership has moved to signed email. The president sent a note back to a vice president the other day and said, this message is not signed. I don't know who it came from. And of course, it was actually a legitimate message. I've started doing that as well. So while digital signatures aren't a cure-all, it is a decision we can take one more step in mitigation some of the risks that are out there. Now, lest we get lost in all of this, again, our focus is to work on education and research. That's the mission of IU. And last week in the president's speech, he also drew attention to something, and I want to tell you, I am super excited about this as an administrative initiative. And I've been around long enough, I don't get excited all that easily, except about cybersecurity matters. And that is what I'll politely call the Bureaucracy Reduction Task Force. It had a long name. I don't remember what it's called. But essentially, the point is, how do we remove the administrative barriers to our faculty getting their work done, our students getting their education done, and staff getting things done that they need to do. Because for many faculty, sometimes it feels like Alice down the rabbit hole of like, you've got to be kidding me. I have this money in my grant, I just need to do this certain thing, and there is like this wall of fortress of things between here and there. So we've got to stay vigilant around the policies that are very important to protect the risks, risk mitigations for the university. But this is a wholesale renewal and a fresh look. Do we really need 5 steps? Could it be done in 1? Is the limit set at 10,000? Should it really be 25? We're going to be going through that has 5 vice presidents or 6 vice presidents on this. And so I told my senior team, and I hope it rolled down and some of you guys heard it, we need to look very carefully in UITS. Where can we reduce administrative burden? Sometimes it is our job to say no, but sometimes we could say, you know, we could do that another way. How about even within the one IU IT team, how we work with each other, schools and departments, units in UITS, or between UITS. So let's don't feel like sometimes it's an alternate reality down the rabbit hole of getting things done. We want to make it as simple as possible. So now, as we get back to our topic for decision making, back to chess. Every day you make lots of decisions. Should you allocate another server to that? Should you hire another staff member, or do we have enough? Or are you worried about this person? She may leave us if we don't find a way to up her responsibilities and skills. For admissions agents to the university, one of the most important things they do every year, who gets admitted to Indiana University? What kind of financial aid gets offered? For our department chairs, how many sections of a class do we offer? How many will fill up if we offer them all at 8 a.m. in the morning? Not many. So these are all decisions that we make. And sometimes it feels like we've got that big data center out there, and we've got Oracle and PeopleSoft and Canvas and ABCD and cloud service this and that, but it feels like our data are all on one side of a great divide. And the challenges of our decision makers wanting to do something are on the other side. So when we think about, okay, how can we fix that? How can we make that better? We sometimes start to envision very large projects, like a $5 billion 5-mile bridge, the Oakland Bay Bridge, if you recognize it. But a lot of times that's not really what we need. We don't need uber complexity. I mean, a clever bridge in Uruguay, I actually want to go see this someday. I'm not sure why they needed a roundabout almost in the middle of their bridge. But it's clever, it's clever. Sometimes the problems that we have can actually be solved with something, it's just a little bit. Just opening up some data. Just ensuring that these things synchronize. An API, making something discoverable. Maybe it's even a little bit bigger project, but it's surmountable and doable. So 18 months ago, we launched the Decision Support Initiative. It was approved in February of 2015. It was met with thunderous applause, and it says, how do we make decision-making better around here? So the problem looks something like this, because we're often in the battle of Excel worksheets. Somebody goes to IUIE and they suck down some version of data, then they flog it within Excel, and then they present you a chart and say, voila. And someone else looks at it and go, nope, I downloaded it and I looked at it and it's different. Now, Ray Pankow is a researcher at the University of Hawaii. It's a tough assignment to be posted there. But he did research for about 15 years on Excel errors. He'll go into a corporation, vacuum up a bunch of spreadsheets, and then study them. What do you think the error rate in Excel spreadsheet work typically is? On average, 1 in 20 cells in an Excel spreadsheet contains a formula error. 1 in 20. And how do spreadsheets work? One cell points to another, another cell sums it up, points to another, and you get a typical error rate in Excel spreadsheets rivaling about 50%. So this is just crazy. And Excel's a wonderful tool, but it is not the way to always do decision analysis. So Aaron and his team, Aaron Neal, have been working on the Decision Support Initiative. They got several charters and things out the door. Most recently, they've been focused on Academic Metrics 360. So Provost Rebel from the Bloomington campus, she rolled out AM 360 to the deans at her retreat in August. I was present when we showed it to them for the first time, and it was not applause. It really looked a lot more like Joey, like this. It was truly a collective gasp in the room that, oh my heavens, they had never seen this kind of information presented to them this way for things that they needed to do, their associate deans needed to do, department chairs needed to do. I told Lauren, I said, I wish I got a picture. I mean, a collective set of deans all happy at one time was a remarkable thing to behold. So what does it do? It looks like this, and these are credit hours. So this tells you about how many credit hours were in your school last year, undergrad, grad, how many broke out by department, there's filters, and gives you a multi-year view. So as you're making decisions, are we growing? More and more people are coming into media studies, or more and more people are moving into finance or less. So let's listen just a little bit to Vice Provost.
I'm Venkat, and I'm the Vice Provost for Finance and Strategy at Bloomington campus. The DSI has improved IU, especially IU Bloomington decision making in multiple ways. The best example is student retention. So we were able to understand how certain students are dropping out after the first year because of the way our financial aid was given. What we realized was giving a constant 4-year financial aid actually really helps them to retain and focus on academics.
I'm Amy Heater, and I'm Associate Vice Provost and Director of Budget and Planning for Indiana University, Bloomington. AM 360 is Academic 360. It provides a full view of all the key academic metrics available to deans and to the academic schools in general. So far, AM 360 has allowed us to look at credit hours in a new way starting this fall term. Schools can actually see what their credit hours are based on their majors and non-majors. This allows them to create better planning for future courses to fit the needs of our increasing population.
I'm Nasser Paydar, Chancellor of IUPUI and Executive Vice President of Indiana University. Indiana University is ideally positioned to serve as a national model for data-driven decision-making thanks to our infrastructure, our tools, and the speed with which we can transform massive amounts of data into powerful information. Thanks to Michelle Hansen and her team in the Office of Institutional Research and Decision Support at IUPUI, we have developed IUPUI Data Link, a remarkable tool that connects people across IUPUI with data in support of our strategic plan.
The best part of the DSI is its transparency, accuracy, and ease of use. This allows everybody, the decision-making chain, from a department chair to provost, look at the same data, the same understanding of data definition, and arrive at data-driven decision-making efficiently and effectively.
So by providing common data views, we don't get into a battle of Excel. These are authoritative views of data from systems of record at Indiana University. So, and they integrate. I showed you one on credit hours. This is one on financial data. So deans are starting to see these dashboards pulled together, can look at scenarios and doing them. Or maybe you have interest in what are students majoring in? Here's one on the Bloomington campus, first year. And we see there's about 3,000 students who are planning to major in finance in the Kelly School, year one. Now, if you'll look in the upper corner, what happens to those 3,300 students who plan to major in finance by the time they begin their senior year? It's down to about 1,100. They decide they don't want to be a finance major. Totally great. Well, where did they go to? Many went to economics. Many went to accounting. And you can cut this at any given year. So this helps department chairs plan. How many courses do they need to offer? How many sections of that course do they need to offer? How many tenure track faculty do they need to hire? How many clinicals, lecturers do they need to support them? How many TAs, how many classrooms are we going to need? Because every decision that's made there that better accommodates students getting through and finishing their degree in 4 years feeds back to student borrowing, completion rates, all the things that you know well. Let's take another peek at some of this data from Dennis Groth.
Hi everybody, I'm Dennis Groth, the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education at Indiana University Bloomington. And today we're going to take a look at a dashboard called the Daily Major Report. A lot of times people ask me, how many students are majoring in biology? How many students are majoring in this Kelley School of Business? How many students are majoring in the School of Education? We actually have a dashboard that tells you today how many majors you have. So let's bring up the daily dashboard and we'll take a look at that. So go ahead and bring that up, please. The number one pre-major today is the Informatics Bachelor of Science. We can see that finance is second. There's an exploratory set of students is third, and on. There are 10 students, 10 pre-majors intending to study Spanish. But that's just it, they're intending. If you take a look at our major transition dashboard, you can see that students that are intending one thing today, next year might be pursuing something else. So this is a very fluid number, but it gives you an idea about what's going on.
And if Professor Groth doesn't make it as a data analyst, he has a great future as a weatherman, for sure. So where do you find these reports and dashboards? They're all in ds.iu.edu, decisionsupport.iu.edu. The Enterprise Systems Group, Rob Loudon's shop, they took one.iu.edu, is where you do tasks. That's where you go and get things done, and ported it over to be on top of what is already almost 600 different reports and dashboards that are there and available. Now, it's not only things that may be useful to a school, there's stuff that's useful to us there. So here is pulling up the UITS annual user satisfaction survey. As you know, we pushed that out to 2,000 Bloomington, 2,000 Indianapolis students, faculty, staff. Our response rate is amazing. It's around 40% for a survey, so that's really, really good. And you can see I put together here research technologies and classroom technologies, 5-point scale. Most of these right at the borderline 4. People very happy with things going on in research technologies, very happy with classroom services. One of the lowest ranks you see there, slightly below 4, is regarding the Quarry computer system. But it's getting quite old, and we have an upgrade for Quarry on the way right now. So these data help us understand the quality of our services, look at areas that need particular attention, dive into the user comments, and see if we can understand what's going on. Now, there were a lot of decisions to make all this stuff work. So when we started the Decision Support Initiative, we got this architecture diagram, came from our Enterprise Systems Group. And you see there's a bunch of systems over there, and they have PeopleSoft, et cetera. This is where data comes from. We flog it mercilessly in the middle, and then hopefully we make it so you can find it over here on the other side. But that's really complicated, and it's often lagging. So they did a real rework of this. They put in a data virtualization layer. Everything is virtualized, right? I think we're going to virtualize breakfast next. But a data virtualization layer that makes it a whole lot easier when we have ideas about reports, dashboards, we want to connect Tableau to it, we even want to connect Excel to it to do clever things. This makes it a whole lot easier. Now, when you take a diagram like this and you take the senior leadership of the university, et cetera, and we really want to dig down into what it takes and what makes it all work, you usually get this reaction. But this reaction is okay. This is our responsibility. And the choices that you make in how you code something, where that data goes, our Council of Data Stewards, Committee of Data Stewards, who has access to what? How do we protect ourselves from a FERPA violation, a HIPAA violation, in compliance? It's important that we get all of this architecture, policy, technology, and access right. But by getting this stuff right, it doesn't slow us down or gum us up with crazy work. It lets a big organization like IU run like an elephant. That means we can have the speed to be able to take that next idea, that next idea, that next idea, and be able to graft it on for this guy who's still trying to make a decision and thinking about what he needs to do. Now, after the break, we'll have Harper Reed up, and if you read the article, The Nerds Go Marching In, you'll read how important architecture mattered to being able to do the things with speed and agility that they did. So decision support, our goal is to improve the decision making at Indiana University and at all levels of the university. So there's a lot of work to doing that. We got our people, get the right data to them, and hopefully improve decision making. So for us, part of our role is getting that data delivered. Now, it's not just the data. There's a guy named Russell Akoff, published a brilliant paper in 1967. The title tells it all: Management Misinformation Systems. And one, he said, there's a faulty assumption is that if you give people more data, decision making will improve. Often it won't. Frankly, decision making will get worse. Why? Because people don't have a model in their head. What is the cause and effect here that really makes that decision work? And so if you ask people, what data do you need to make your decision? What's the response? Well, what do you got? I'll take it. All of it. So we have to, if we're really going to improve decision making, it's not only getting the data accessible or getting the reports, but it's also helping to frame and understand the decisions that make these things work. And it's not just for our administrative users, it's also for our students. The vast riches of data at IU, how could we deliver it to students to help them? Students often care not only about their work, how are they doing relative to other students in the class? So for example, I recall one time as a senior in a AI, artificial intelligence class, which seemed really above my head a bit. I got the first or second exam back, and I got a 27 out of 100 on it. That felt bad, 27 out of 100. And then I realized the highest grade in the class was a 32 that a graduate student got. So knowing what other students are doing is important to understand as well. So we're rolling out Unison Snapshot, and I think we're turning this on with just in a few weeks. If Matt or Stacy can give me a confirmation, we'll be rolling out Unison Snapshot. Some of you recall 2 years ago on this stage, Provost Lauren Robel and I did an interview. We talked about Unison. The Provost Joe Glover from Florida and James Hilton from the University of Michigan were part of it. This is one of the tools that we're rolling out at scale. And here you can see, looking into a class section, sorted by students who are in trouble, having some problem, a little snapshot of what's going on with each student. Here's Stacy to tell you more.
I'm Stacy Maroney, Associate Vice President for Learning Technologies. The Unison Consortium is working to find solutions to higher education's most pressing issues. This fall, the Unison Data Warehouse will help with new insights, dashboards, and snapshots. A new tool, Unison Snapshot, will provide student and section-level dashboards via Canvas. Faculty and advisors will be able to quickly analyze where students stand, and students will be able to see how they compare with their peers. The Student Monitoring tab will display a class roster with a separate card for each student. Instructors can then filter the cards and color code them based on performance.
So here you see a snapshot of a student, Mark Smith. And by the way, this is all dummy data. There are no FERPA violations in what I'm showing you here. Mark seems to have a little challenge getting his homework in. Got 11 of them came in late, 11 of them were on time. At least he is turning things in. But see that red bar? That's the average for the class. Mark's underachieving a bit. We need to figure out what's going on there. We can dive into a particular student. Here we see a student getting about half the stuff in on time, half the stuff late. We see the class average across the top. We see where this student is performing. The student himself could dig in and see this. And we want to help more students succeed, particularly in those first semesters, because information can help students intervene with student behavior to take them from not doing well to doing much better. So as we build all this stuff out, we're not just sitting around on the 58th floor hoping it will work. We're building a strong foundation, a foundation in our systems, in our data architecture, in our policies to try to support decision makers. The right information to the right person, the right information to the right student. But then in the end, it's still a question mark, what will the behavior be? Alan Dennis, a colleague of mine, a researcher, he published a paper I love, and the title was this: "You can lead a group to information, but you can't make it think." And so our part is getting the information to the right person, but we still have work to do in making sure that the outcomes of the DSI, Decision Support Initiative, and your work and many things that you do every day is to actually improve decision-making at Indiana University over time. One critical element of behavior after you get the data, after you get the reports, after the dashboards are available is curiosity. Look into it. Dennis Groth was telling me recently, I won't steal his thunder, he's probably going to publish this soon, but he has learned, has data that at least correlates to greater success in early STEM classes, science, technology, engineering, and math. Isn't it beautiful to be able to say engineering on the Bloomington campus now? Science, technology, engineering, and math. That the composition of the class of being all male, all female, or mixed has at least a correlation with performance of both men and women in the class, depending on the gender composition of the class. Isn't that an interesting thing to observe when you're looking across hundreds of sections and you can draw inferences like this? So I want to encourage you, go stick your head in some of the data that we've got. Within the IT organization, services that we provide, utilization on systems, the behavior of who's accessing things a lot in systems that aren't being accessed very much, maybe we can decommission them. Stick your head in the data, show some curiosity, because we have lots of decisions that we make every day in support of the research and education mission of Indiana University. Now, we're back to this guy, and he's really been thinking about this a lot. I can tell he's about ready to make a bold move now that he's contemplated the decision, and here we have it. He needs some coffee, and perhaps you do too. So I want to offer thank you to our amazing sponsors who help put on all that you see out in the atrium, AT&T, Dell, and Matrix Integration. Matrix, especially longtime sponsor of this event. I hope you'll use the next short break before 10:30 to meet your colleagues, get a coffee refresh, and think about all the decisions that we make and how to continually improve Indiana University. I'll see you in the lobby, and be back at 10:30 for what will most certainly be an engaging conversation from Harper Reed. Thank you.